Hello, my name is Zach. I'd like to talk to you today about abandoned animals. When you think of an abandoned animal, you would probably think of a small puppy, a kitten. Those are mostly common to find. But when you're out here, you'll most likely find a fawn that could have been abandoned by its mother. When you see this animal, should you really try to take care of it, or should you leave it alone? First off, I'd like to talk to you about a little story. If you remember back to one of my first videos, you remember a Dalmatian sitting on my lap. She's actually deaf. Normally, she would either be put down or she would be abandoned by the owners. But our family actually kept her. We decided to give her a chance at life, and she's turned into quite a good dog. Humans can be directly involved with the abandonment of animals. Mostly, we'll hunt the mother, run over the mother with a vehicle, or we could have injured the young in some way. Some simple differences between the adult and young could be the height, whether it has fur or not. Just basic things that you would look at and decide, that's not a baby. First, we'll look at how to tell if it's abandoned or not. Then, we'll look at what the DNR wants you to do and where you should go to find help. And now that you know what we're going to do today, let's try to find out how to tell if an abandoned animal is really abandoned or if it's just parked there by the mother. Animals won't always care for the young if their young is injured, but they'll usually leave the baby for all day. Deer are a good example of this. They'll leave their young in a spot that they consider safe and go off and find food. They'll leave the baby there and come back 2 to 3 times a day to clean it off. But to tell if a baby is really abandoned, you have to look for injuries. Because if they are really injured, they won't be helped by the mother. Or if it's uninjured, you should check back on it. And if it's with an injured or dead mother, you should either wait until the mother is dead, or if the mother is dead, bring it in. To tell if a baby is injured, there are either basic injuries or major injuries. The basic injuries would be small cuts, which usually the mother would take it back from just that. But if it has a major injury, such as a broken leg or deep lacerations on its body, you should probably take it in and try to help it. You're best off to try to find a wildlife care center. If the mother is injured or dead, you shouldn't approach it right away. You want to make sure that the mother is dead before you approach, because in most cases that's a great way to get injured. And once you know the mother is dead, you may approach the baby and help it. But do not mess with predators unless it is absolutely necessary. Now that we know how to tell if an animal is injured, let's see how the DNR says we should deal with them, and who we could turn to for actual help. The DNR believes that animals should stay wild. They don't really care if it's a young one or an old one. They only care that they stay wild. They have a certain policy in place that if you take in an abandoned baby and you aren't properly licensed, you'll be fined and the young will be taken away from you. Wildlife rehabilitators help in these scenarios. Some people are licensed to care for young, and usually to contact them you would have to ask your local DNR, but you'd never want to tell them how long you've had the baby, unless you've only had it for a few days. But sometimes, if you have the knowledge, it might just be best to keep the baby. We had a young fawn at one point, and we also have Erickson's Petting Zoo in Nelson. Their deer was getting pretty old, and they were looking for a new one. So we decided to raise the fawn, and we talked to the owner of Erickson's Petting Zoo. And he said that he would take it once it was 3 months old. So we raised it all summer, and we gave it to Erickson's. We never had problems with the deer. In conclusion, animals can be our friends if we properly raise them. And you should always watch out for abandoned animals on the side of the road. An example of an animal that we have found on the side of the road is a story that my mother told me once about an old raccoon we had. She had found the baby on the side of the road next to its dead mother, so of course she picked it up and brought it home. We also have another case of this happening with a woodchuck. It was way back when I was in 9th grade. It was on the side of the road. We saw a woodchuck laying there dead with 4 babies. 3 of them were dead. But we managed to keep the last one alive. So please, watch for abandoned animals on the side of the road.